This is the Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me tonight are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Wyatt Turk, and Adam from the Army Painter. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yo, what's up?
Awesome to be back. It's been a while.
We didn't have to tell Adam what to do; he just did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he listens to us.
It's like he's not like it's like he's a podcaster.
It's like it's like he saw us on the internet or something.
A washed up podcaster.
So,
Same,
guys,
bro.
let me just this will be my first notice to chat. People listening. So a lot of people listening on the drive to work know that we do this live. So I'm calling out to the audience. I'm trying to fill up a Q&A bank for the end of the show. Topic tonight: top painting tips, Warhammer 40k. Of course, we have a prestigious representative of the Army Painter here tonight. So it's a very you know
Semi-official,
semi yeah.
semi-professional.
I mean, it's this is a professional opportunity to have this topic addressed and also your questions answered, as it were. So ask questions, and also I believe Adam stated that what was it? Best question wins.
Yeah, I'll let you three determine the best question.
Oh
And the
man,
best question, I'll send them a Wargamer XL wet palette.
Heard that. So ask those questions, guys. Just ask them. Put in quotes or whatever. Ask a question. I'm gonna copy and paste these joints throughout the show. So
Make it easy for Kenny. Write XL real big in all caps at the beginning.
mhm. Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, I got ADHD, so the more caps, the better.
Same.
So we're gonna go over a couple cool ass show notes tonight, and I love the new emotes that you put in the show list, Rob.
I did that.
Yeah, man, it's like a little palette.
Yeah, I did that.
It's just fucking awesome, man. I love it.
I don't know.
So we're gonna cover
I
a
gotta
mini.
go look at what I did. Give me
You
a
don't
minute.
see it, bro? There's like a
Oh, there it is.
look at that shit, dude. It's cute as hell. Yeah, look at that shit, man. That's beautiful, dude. I appreciate the work that went into these show notes. So, in order to stay on topic, in this now we have four people, so this is gonna be a great opportunity to extend the reach of our Peabody Award-winning segment as we roll out to the Cave of Wonders and touch nothing but the lamp.
Would you rather be 8 feet tall or 5 feet tall?
Oh man. I feel like that's always the question I get asked a lot. Like, how tall are you?
That's a good question because I mean, obviously, being tall gets you places, but 8 feet kind of tall.
I mean, like, so I'm 6'2", and almost every time I go to the grocery store, like a little old lady, and
Yo.
actually on occasion a little man will be like, "Hey, bro, will you help me out and get something on top?" And I find such joy in being the person that they call to do that. So if I was 8 feet tall, just imagine what kind of shit I could find in the back.
Yeah.
Like,
So the
you're
tallest,
like kitchen bouquet you've been looking for, and they've been out of stock of for months. I bet it's back there. 8 foot Adam can get it.
the 8 foot Adam, the current tallest person in the world is 8'2" right now.
How tall do you
So
think?
Is that for real?
yeah, I just googled it. He's 8 foot 2.8 inches.
How old is, or how tall do you think Thomas and Andrew
6'8".
Whitaker?
6'7".
The tall,
I
yeah,
know for a
6'7",
fact.
6'8". Yeah, they're
Thomas
So
is
they're like
6'8". Andrew 6'7", but claims 6'8".
who cares at that point? It's an inch.
I mean, it's to them, it's important.
It's
Oh,
been
yeah,
a
I
huge
just-
topic of discussion because that was my gaming group, right? So I grew up playing 40k with them.
So like, if you're 6'8", you're already freakishly tall in most
Yeah.
situations. And look at like Hathier Bjornsson at 6'10". You know what I mean? Like, preposterous. We're going above that. So my question to the genie is, if I choose 8 feet tall, am I like, it's typically because you have a thyroid condition,
Oh gosh.
right? Did I have like my pituitary
Yeah, I mean,
gland?
just like most of these, like you won't have like a health
So
condition.
no health
so
So
condition.
you're a proportionate 8 foot. Your life expectancy isn't going to be shorter.
Yeah, but
because
I don't have to have, I
you
don't have
like
to have brain
Marfan
surgery. I don't have to have
syndrome.
brain surgery or nothing like that, right? Like, I'm good to go. All right.
Yeah, your inconvenience is that you're an 8 foot person in like a 6 foot world.
Flying
It's not even a
sucks.
6 foot world. The world is not designed
Like
for
a
people with 6
5-5
foot.
world.
Yeah, basically, yes.
So I think like if you're 8 foot tall, do you have the wingspan to fly on your own?
Yeah.
Because you can't board a plane.
Can you not fly at 8 feet tall? Can Shaq not fly? Was he not actually 8 feet tall?
He's 7'1", I think.
Oh, tall.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's
Huh.
he's a 7-footer. He's 7'1". Yeah, not even. You're a foot taller than Shaquille O'Neal, dog. Like,
Jeez,
Right.
dude. Yeah, I guess putting that into
God
perspective,
damn, dude.
that's prohibitively big.
It's like I'm looking at my ceilings. I got 10-foot ceilings in my office.
Oh yeah, I
Like
didn't even think about that.
that's up there. Like that's a Halloween skeleton in your front yard.
Maximum height requirement flight. I'm just trying to see.
Is that a thing?
I'm looking it up.
No.
Maximum height for air travel. I want to just see. I don't see anything. There's a minimum. It looks like.
Yeah, but I mean, comfortably. Yeah.
So you're
I mean,
technically
probably what you would do is
just run out of,
claim ADA status, so you could always get bulkhead seating, just for the leg room.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you're
Smart.
4'11", I think that you have to pass certain tests to drive. Is
No.
that why we chose 5 foot? Is that why the genie
No,
chose
my
5
my
foot?
lady's 4'11", hilariously, and I think 1 more inch is you're legally a little person. So 4'10" is
Yeah. Okay.
So
4'10".
so you're close, but 5 foot is universally considered short for a man by everyone's standards in every country in the whole world. Like that
Oh
is
yeah, you're definitely a manlet.
you are tiny, and no matter
Mm.
what the
That's
culture
rough.
is, and so that's kind of short. It's kind of short, you know what I mean? And I don't know if I'd be the same man today. So like I'm suddenly 5 feet tall, but I've got my current personality.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Mm,
like you wake up
That's
tomorrow.
something.
And this is what
That would be
you're like.
awesome. You'd be Gimli.
mm. Do I stay the same weight, or does it give me an out on that when I go down to 5
The
feet?
biceps stay the same
Oh
size.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it's-
I said there'd be no health problems, so yeah, I guess your weight would change proportionally.
Yeah, thank God. If it just, I mean, like same BMI, whatever. Like I'll take that, but I can't be no 280, dog. It's be a problem.
285 foot, they could use you as a bowling ball.
Yeah, like one of them Oompa Loompas that got too big.
Yeah, Kara Quinn says 5 foot is like Kenny says already. No, I'm 5'7".
You're tall and 5'7".
Weight changes every day.
Get out of here.
We just don't know. We just can't be sure.
5'7", dog.
So wait, what's so Kenny, are you choosing 8 foot or 5 foot?
Yeah, 100% 8 feet. There's no way I can do it.
I mean, you're not.
It's okay. As much as I believe in my heart of hearts, that any type of perception on someone's height should matter in any circumstance.
Right.
I think it's preposterous. I think it's ridiculous. I just know that it exists though, and I want to be on the baller side of that. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be on the 8 foot side of that shit.
So
You
like
would.
I play golf, and like if you just think about the club head speed, somebody with 8 foot, if they are proportional, could create just by being bigger. Like
I mean,
you're talking like 250-mile-an-hour club head speed. That breaks world records. Like that would be insane.
yeah, man. Think about you can do a lot of shit when you're 8 feet tall. So my BMI. So we gonna say like your BMI scales with you?
Yeah.
That makes the most sense.
Interesting. Because you could take, like splitting up that 270 pounds or whatever you said, like proportionally up to 8 feet, like you would be skinny.
No,
Yeah, at 8
not
foot.
if I stay at my BMI. Right? If I stay at my
Oh, I
BMI,
see.
I scale up.
Yeah, so the weight, yeah.
You'd probably still weigh 320 pounds.
I'll probably
or
be like at 8
350
feet. I'll
pounds.
probably goddamn. Let me go online and look. What's BMI? Like, do they even track BMI for 8 feet footers?
I don't even.
BMI.
Well, apparently 8
Well,
feet
there's
doesn't
only
exist.
one that exists, so why don't you call them and ask them?
Yeah.
I'm literally on National Heart and Lung BMI calculator. Let me put 8 feet in the height. See what it says.
Because didn't Andre the Giant die from that? But he probably wasn't even that.
I mean,
He had a
he had
pituitary
giantism, pituitary gland situation.
Yeah,
Like,
it just burned up.
That's everyone's. That's almost anyone in that height category is suffering from that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Very sad.
Okay, I'm gonna
That's
do
a
my.
drawback
Okay,
of being over 6 foot.
what's my current BMI? Okay, this is how we gotta do it. Okay, current. It's bad.
I'm not even 6'5", Phil. I wish I was 6'5". I could have gone pro.
So if I'm 8 feet tall,
Could have been somebody.
my BM like
Could've
if
been
I'm
somebody.
to have the same BMI as I have right now, I've got to weigh 500 pounds.
No
Nice.
way.
Yep.
You're like a mythical giant. At that
Yeah.
point, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 100%, I pick 8 foot 500, no doubt.
You would be the guy that people on Reddit say, caused the Great Floods and built the pyramids and all that.
That's so. Now
He's
with
an
this
engineer.
information, I'm going for it. Now I do acknowledge this is going to cause a lot of problems in my life. You know what I'm saying?
I don't see how I can.
I understand.
A lot of inconveniences for sure.
A lot of this is future Kenny, 8 foot, 500-pound Kenny problems. I mean, God, like, bro, I'm gonna wake up 8 foot and my 500 pounds on this bed breaks instantly, right? Like, I wake up, go to my
You gotta
closet, and
watch your
realize
footing.
I'm literally naked until something from Amazon shows up to wear. You know what I mean?
Well, no, you wouldn't be naked. You just would be. Your clothes would look a little small.
Dog, 500 pounds, 8 feet tall. I couldn't put a single
How
thing
many
I own on.
Kenny, what are we talking about? How many pair of Jinko jeans do you own?
Maybe I can wear my Jinkos as high waters. Yes, you're right. I can wear my Jinkos as high waters.
Jenko shorts.
Mm-hmm. I've got Janko shorts. They'll look a little weird. I can wear those too. So my Jankos, luckily, I can go outside shirtless in my Jankos. I can make
Somebody
this
would
work.
immediately think you're like a cryptid or something.
Oh yeah.
So,
Like you're
I-
like the alpha juggalo.
I want to talk about the other side of the spectrum here for a second, because my wife's uncle, who's not that much older than us, he lives down the street. He's 5'5", I think. He's a firefighter. He's mid
See,
50s.
He can get in some spots.
In shape. Dude looks younger than I do, and he's 15 years older than me. And I hate that. Like, that sucks.
I hate that.
So, I mean, like, if I could be a couple inches shorter and look like actually my age, because I think I look probably at least 10 years older than I actually am.
Does he
only
look younger
23,
just because
guys.
he's the size of a
Oh,
child?
sure.
Well, I think he's also super healthy. So there's some
So maybe
genetics there.
we
but
gotta get healthy.
yeah,
That,
I'm
that
trying.
would help.
Just to correct Phil, it's not 6'5" energy; it's 6.5 energy. Thank
Does
you
my
very much.
dick say exactly the same size, or does it scale?
That should scale.
Man.
Same distance from the floor?
I mean, I'd say your body, if we're saying that it scales proportionately, then like, yeah, I mean, like that's part of your body. So
Like I'm
Sure.
I'm really campaigning from like as it hangs, measure it to the floor, it stays that distance from the floor at 8 feet.
You know what I
mean-
think? Forget about the rest of the show. I think we should talk about this exact thing
The
the
uppy
next
downy.
hour and 20 minutes.
I mean,
Because
We could take some
it's
Q&A on
already a little disappointing. And if it stayed exactly the same at 8 feet tall, poof.
Hey, small to medium size represent.
So but at 8 feet tall, it's gonna look real bad. I might just have to pick 5 foot if that's the case.
Well, I think we already established the rule of proportion. So we'll say that it scales proportionally.
Still
So
gonna
Wyatt,
look
where-
so
where-
it's
where do
still
you
gonna
go?
look small, though it will technically not be.
Yeah. So we got to play by the rules established.
So what side of the fence is Wyatt on?
I mean, it's to me, it's like a hard choice, right? Because like there's a lot of inconveniences that go along with both, which is why I thought it was a good question, right? So
oh, for sure.
at 5 feet, you're basically a child, right? Like, so for me, it'd be like going back to the 8th grade. And I'm just like, sure, you're not like ridiculously small, but everything kind of becomes harder, you know? But then on 8 feet, you're 8 feet tall, and a lot of things are like really easy, but also a lot of things become difficult that you probably wouldn't think of. Like, think about being 8 feet tall and trying to get stuff out of your refrigerator that's built for like
Yeah.
a
Yeah, you
5'2"
gotta duck
mom.
down.
You know, like that's gonna be really annoying. Like cars are gonna be an issue.
Regular sized
Well,
toilet bowls.
Yeah.
Think about
like,
Ant-Man too. Like when he gets bigger, everything slows down, and like you get stumbly.
It'd be like that for a
Uh,
couple days for sure.
yeah. Getting used to it all.
My
All
friends
right.
at Frontline Gaming says that thought they were celebrating my 21st at LVO. You were 2 years ago.
There you go.
Rob, what are you gonna do? You gonna go 6 foot? I mean, you're gonna go 5 foot or 8 foot?
I'm good. I'm probably gonna go 8 foot against my better judgment, but I'm used to kind of being tall and having to deal with tall people problems. So
I'm used to
I feel
being.
like
I'm used to dealing with fat people problems. So like 500 pounds. Tracks.
Come on.
Tracks.
yeah,
All right.
I think my BMI would be a bit different though.
Oh yeah. Let me Google that shit. Let me find out how much Rob will weigh at 8 feet tall.
What is your BMI now?
I don't know.
I gotta find it out for him.
Skinny.
What are you?
Skinny
how
fat.
much are you? Like, what are you like? 6'2", Rob?
Yeah, sure, we'll go with that. And
Are
I
you
think you're 6'3". You got about an inch on
Are you
me.
6'3"?
yeah, I think I'm 6'3", but I haven't. It's not official.
It's
I don't
actually
think
it's
it
only
says it
just the
on
swoop. That
my
might be
driver's
okay.
license. Yeah, maybe it's just this little spiky hair. The one's like 172, I think. They just weighed me.
You'd be over 300 pounds.
Man, I couldn't even. That's like two of me.
Yeah. You'd be over 300 pounds.
I just got a text from our good friend Jake at Frontline saying some weird hobby tips going on right now.
No, it's not
Yeah, I
weird.
mean,
This is fine. Wait
And
till we
Kenny
start
was
talking
talking
about the
about
poop.
tips.
We haven't even talked about poop
That
yet.
was the thing.
But I imagine I'm gonna need a new toilet.
Oh, for
Day
sure, dude.
one. Day one.
yeah, real deluxe joint.
Yeah.
Well,
You
I
have to
mean, like,
reinforce the
yeah, think
floors.
about exactly like just get it if you're 8 foot tall. So either way, your toilet's messed up because if you're 5 foot, you have to jump to get on it. The
Mhm.
ceramic's not cut out for that. And if you're 8 foot
Mm-mm.
tall, you got to plummet to it.
Bro, I won't never be able to use the upstairs bathroom again. Like, this is a real serious problem.
Just go right through the floor.
Oh, fuck, dude.
And if you pivot when you get up from the chair from sitting down, eventually over time you're gonna wear out your seat. You're gonna go through a lot of seat covers too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
This
even
is
if I was
real.
8 foot tall, you wouldn't need a seat cover.
I'm mostly gonna be pooping in the backyard. Like, until I get this sorted out.
I think Adam had a point. I think what you do is you immediately start practicing golf, and you just
Yeah.
you crush the PGA.
Just like prove that
Yeah.
golf's not a sport.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
just for income
Yeah.
purposes, because you're going to need a lot of money for all
It's not a
these
sport; it's a
renovations.
game.
Yes.
It's a game.
I'm gonna need a lot of money for all these jinkos.
Yeah, for real.
You have to get
You
custom
have to buy
tailored.
Jenko.
Facts. All right, let's move on our subject matter. Thanks to the chat. Chat, we're looking for Q&A. Remember, we're giving away a prize to the best
Best question.
So start asking questions now while Rob does the news, and I'll start populating our Q&A section. Rob?
There we go. So, hey everybody, it's great to be here. Not a whole lot going on this week. I guess Monday or January and February are a little slow on the news front because there's not a lot of new products coming out. Everybody's kind of getting done with the holidays and stuff. But for new releases from Games Workshop, got the whole slew of High Elf Wave 1 coming out, going on pre-order this weekend. So definitely check those out if that's your jam. And also, I guess we know based on some leaks of products that were on eBay but then taken down, it looks like What Else might be next for Old World 2. So looks like they're gonna
That's my heart.
that's your jam, the old What Else.
That's what brought me into this whole place.
What's your favorite Wood Elf kit from back in the day?
Well, the original aerial model was the first miniature I ever painted.
Oh, with the butterfly wings?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I would say the Orion sculpt because it's so bad and I never owned it. So like I would really like to convert and sculpt one day.
I didn't
Like
think it
that
was
would
that
be
bad. The one with the horn and
it
he's
was
holding the horn.
it's very nostalgic. Yeah, he's holding the horn, he's got the dogs
Yeah.
by the side. You know, the proportions were a little bit off. He was top heavy, but you know, that's I always like the duality of having like a king and a queen of the
Yeah.
wood. You know what I mean? And they're both just as badass, and I thought that was really cool.
Maybe we'll
Plus,
get
I'm a
that side
hippie,
of
so
I think a lot of people would really like the Kurnoth stuff to come out next to the Sylvaneth.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's probably them and Chaos Dwarfs. I think are kind of on everybody's list of stuff they'd like to see. But I
If you're going for the gray pound, you have to go for Chaos Dwarfs, right? Like it's that was the 90s.
yeah. Well, and the cool thing is we know they can do a good job at plastics because they came out with that Blood Bowl team and they look good. So very very excited if they ever do. But never say never because they've been putting stuff out. And I finally got, and that kind of dovetails into the next point. So I finally got the Eldar models for 40k that just came out, and they were a bit delayed. The one thing that Games Workshop does really well that I think we could all agree on is they make dope shit. They come up with like the coolest ideas, the biggest, dopest boxes, the neatest looking stuff design wise. But then everything else is just like it's like they forgot how to cat. Like they just that whoop, logistics, whoop, getting the stuff out on time, whoop, like everything just out the window. And that's kind of what's been happening lately here in the States. And nobody really knows why. And you got 2 weeks ago, game stores got 3 weeks worth of orders, pre-orders showing up all at once. A lot of folks didn't get Eldar on time this week. It's been a bit of an S show, if you know what I'm saying. But so I finally got the Eldar stuff, opened it up, looked at the sprues. A lot of the sprues were dated a year ago. Uh, a sermon was 2 years ago. So like they are, and I think we all know this, like because there wasn't a whole lot of excitement since September. It was Blood Angels and then Crickets. We got Battle Forces. So I think in a lot of ways, Games Workshop is, when they hit their goals, they're like, we got to make this much this quarter. We did it. High five. Everybody get your bonuses. Slap the asses. Move on. Like they don't care from there. They don't have to try any harder because that's where the stock is. But it was really interesting to see that you can see it in the products. Like this stuff is the designs are sitting there. We don't know what they've got cataloged. We don't. They might have plastic, cast dwarfs stashed in the design studio, just getting ready to crank out production wise. So we know that the wood elves are probably going to come first because somehow somebody got some of the old lords metal. So I guess they're doing some sort of simultaneous release in metal that isn't MTO because they're already done as soon as they drop. So it seems to be every quarter they drop a new old world faction. So that'll be cool to see. We just got Empire, so it probably won't be this quarter. Probably looking at Marchish, if I had to guess. But sooner than later there will be more releases for them. Also, something that was worth mentioning was there will be an Emperor's, and I fully expect Emperor's Children to be the pre-order teaser on Sunday, just because of the fact that they showed that limited edition codex, the one of the four gods. There'll be an Emperor's Children one, there'll be a World Eaters one, there'll be a Death Guard one. It'll be like super deluxe with all these art prints and everything in it. And it's going to have that little chaos medallion. And if you buy all four of the codexes, if you can snag them away from the scalpers, and these little medallions will form together and lock together with the magnets, which is a cool idea. And it's very cool. But I think, you know, are folks willing to spend like $800 on this or even able to source them? I don't know. Good luck to everybody that's going to try. I'd love to see the first person to like post up, hey, I formed Voltron with these medallions. Check it out. I'm sure it's going to be pretty dope looking. I feel like it's just a tough ask. But again, it's Games Workshop has the coolest ideas and come out with the coolest looking things. But everything else is like, whoop, right out
It's
the
hard to
window.
argue. It's hard to argue that their games aren't some of, if not the best, and their miniatures at the scale that they do them are
Mm-hmm.
unrivaled. I mean, it's just plain as day. Their design team is incredible with the miniatures that they put together. I own a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to imagine at the scale that they're working. You mentioned 1 year out. I have to imagine that they're working up to 5 years out on releases. And that's where
Yeah.
things get kind of like, as a growing company, I can say like it's very difficult to keep focus on this new thing that you're trying to put out tomorrow, but also keep the steam going for something that is not going to be here. And when you're working with external parties and there's a lot of crossover, you know there could be a lot of things that I agree with and disagree with the way that Games Workshop runs their business, but I also know the struggle, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
it's
logistics.
a lot.
Yeah, and I think so. I think what we're able to glean from what Games Workshop has actually said when the Indomitus box came out, they said that they had started working on that 3 years prior,
Hmm.
which didn't seem to make a lot of sense because that was like halfway through the previous edition at that point. So like that's when they started looking at art and going to museums and looking at the redesign and things like that. So to get up to the point where they're actually putting stuff, designing the sprues and stuff, that's 1 year out. So like that kind of gives you the timetable. Like they're already designing new products and new rule systems and all of these things like halfway, like in the middle of 10th edition, they were already designing 11th edition, or excuse me, in the middle of 9th edition, they were already starting to think about what was they were going to be rolling out at the initial launch of 11th edition by their own admission in their own videos. So,
How could that not be apparent? As a former hardcore
mhm.
competitive player, Kenny played a lot of competitive 40k, right? And we have that lapse that happens where it's like something is OP, then something comes out, and it's like, well, boom, everything's changed. I could think of Gene Stealer Cult. I could think of Leagues of
Yep.
Votan, where, right? So they're designing these new releases because the design team came up with it, but the people that are designing the game and preparing for 10th edition now have to squeeze this thing in, and it's all busted. Kind of adds to the fun and the randomness of 40k. We don't have Seize the Initiative anymore. We just have their game designers, right? So like, um, yeah, I don't know. It makes sense.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it does make sense at the end of the day when you start thinking about it, but and I think 40k in general is in a good spot as far as updates go because they are very easily and we got two balanced data slate updates. We got one in December, we got to January, we actually had a February one with a few minor changes, but still it's still counted. So like it's almost like they're doing those every month now from what we've seen since December. So it's cool. It's cool to see all the updates and things. You don't have to wait 8 years or 7 years or whatever it was for the Orc Codex
Yeah.
back in fourth edition. That was a little rough. So that was fun. So on the retail side of things, just be aware there are major delays out there. Every retailer I talk to, every distributor I talk to, is saying things like, they put in these huge purchase orders, they get back like, a third of what they put in for. Like it's just getting stuff from Games Workshop right now, at least here in the States, is a bit of a crapshoot. And then, that the hot
That's rough.
stuff has been out for a very long time. Um, I spoke another speaking of another hot item that's been out of stock for a long time. I spoke with Kid over at Game MV about his the Lucent Hobby Lamp, and he indicated that he can't get them in quick enough.
No.
He's ordering tons of these things, and he's out. You can pre-order it now. I think there's a link and a code so you can get a little discount if you put in like Spiky or something. You can look it up to get a little bit more off. But right now, he's stretched out to March. So if you are serious about getting this light, which I think is a really good light,
Oh,
can't
yeah.
say enough good things about it.
I mean,
I mean, the price is right? That's the thing is like they're not.
Yes.
There's like, see, like I remember I've had all the lights, right? I've got the BenQ light. Remember when I got that?
Yep.
And that's I've got the, so I have like a really good opinion on like between the red grass light, the BenQ light, and the Envy lights. Like the best one is the BenQ lamp, no doubt. That's an actual company in Taiwan that fucking makes lights and lamps, and
Okay.
they're like, hey, we make like the top tier luxury reading lamps. These might be good for minis. Check it out. Sent it to me. I did a review on it. I was like, yeah, this is the best fucking lamp I ever had. But it's also like $280,
yeah.
right? And it's
Mm.
and it's a desk lamp, really heavy. I mean, it's arc lighting control. Everything on it is so much more sophisticated than any other light I've used. I'm like, yeah, this is the best one, no doubt. But sometimes, like, that's too much, right?
Right.
And then
The
I got
German approach, it's almost
yeah,
over-engineered.
and then I got the
Yes.
and then I got the red grass one, which is similarly
Mhm.
priced to the BenQ, which is sad to say. I've been working with red grass for a long time, and I like a lot of their products, but like that lamp is overpriced as a motherfucker, dude. Like it is, it's a good lamp. I'm not saying it's not, but it ain't no BenQ, dog. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't care what the science is, dog. You know what I mean? Like it's not. And then I get the Game Envy lights, and they're doing like a bundle, like 2 for $80 or some shit like that.
I think it ends up being
Once-
80 for one if you get the bundle.
Yeah,
80 for one if you get the bundle.
160.
Yeah, 160 for 2, right? Which is cheaper than one red grass or
You could almost get 3 for the
right
same
and
price.
cheaper than the BenQ, right?
Right.
And
Kit doesn't pay me, but like all of our event lights are the Game Envy Lucid.
yeah, which is crazy because like we're talking
he's
army
awesome.
army painter is talking about like we use these fucking guys' lights.
Yep.
Like so when I have them all sitting down, I'm like I've got all of these lights here. I use all of them every day. And like the Game Envy ones are absolutely the best bang for your buck. Most articulation, most control, like most easy to set up. Like it's incomparable to
That's my thing. I got a bad back, right? And I have bad posture. I can take this light and I can move it and manipulate it to wherever
Yeah.
I feel comfortable. When I find a zone or if I'm working on something and maybe I'm doing assembly line painting and I need the lamp to be kind of adjusted this way, it's yeah. And as Kenny said, like it's the best value on the market. And also from an industry perspective, shipping electronics is not easy. Logistics for electronics is not easy, and Kit is not a 1,000-person company. He is a very, very, very small company.
Yeah,
and
Game Envy
he's managed to do
slaps. I love these guys.
Yeah.
We need more hobby people.
Another basement
we might be
success
working-
story.
We might be working on something with Kit for Adepticon.
Right.
So
I like to hear that.
a little collab.
I like to hear that. Rob, cut your news as fast as you can. We're over time.
Yeah, that's about all I got.
That's my fault.
No,
how dare you?
It's no one's fault. I'm just doing.
We just like to talk.
I'm policing Rob on the time that he set forth for me.
It's true.
So let's take a quick
You
commercial.
do a good
So
job.
it's Rob's fault. Then.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a really polite way of me saying it's fucking Rob's fault. So let's do a quick
Rob's
commercial
done.
break. Let's hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back, and we're going to talk about these meat and potatoes. And we're back. So I was able to get a solid set of Q&As. So we're going to have a little Q&A party
Nice.
after we cover a little bit of this topic. And
Hands
we
off.
got some good ones. So this is a topic that's near and dear, I think, to everyone on the show, right? We style ourselves as like subject matter experts in different categories, but
Mhm.
ultimately we do all the categories. All of us do all the categories. You know what I mean? And so this is always the most fun subject whenever we get to breeze through the topic of painting, because every one of us has a different viewpoint, overlapping and complementary. Top miniature tips for Warhammer 40k miniatures is our big title, and we do have some cool show notes, and I've broken these up, and there's some with all three of you on the show. There's like some questions that are just made for some of you guys, right? Like, and I'm gonna give it first to our guest, and this is just too good of a question to ask, Adam. Citadel paints versus other brands. Do you recommend sticking to Citadel, or are there hidden gems in other ranges? And the reason this is such a meta question is he represents Army Painter, right? They make paints. I'd like to hear what he would say on that.
Well, I guess it depends on the perspective. What are you coming into the hobby from? Are you coming in because Games Workshop brought you in the door? Or are you coming in because you saw somebody painting miniatures on Twitch and you thought that was cool? You wanted to give it a go? Are you an RPG player who's dipping in? Because every one of those has a different vantage point. If you're an RPG player, somebody who found mini painting online, Citadel paints are probably going to be overpriced. a little bit confusing in the way that they're put together and assembled. I mean, you look at the contrast range, and what does it mean? Because there's a bunch of different types of paints labeled as contrast. You
And
know,
not
their
all of
paints are
them have the
do
same
the same thing,
consistency. Yeah.
right? But you know, I can't fault Citadel. The paints are good. They're a fine hobby paint, and they're priced the way that they are, and they have a different bottle, and that's great. I always like to think that we are the best next option if you're coming in because you bought your first set of Space Marines, or maybe you bought your first set of Space Marines and you don't want to follow the box art, and there's something else to offer that's a little bit more affordable, a little bit more color range, but has a system approach that is easy to see when you look at the rack at your friendly local game store. You're going to see the same way that Mike McVeigh taught you to paint in those White Dwarf pages, but basically outlined for you. These are the 6 paints that you need to paint your first Ultramarine or Blood Angel or whatever it might be. So obviously, and you guys all know this, I've used everything. I've used P3, I've used VA, I've used Citadel, you know, and I'm happy to say that I've had a hand in making our new paints, and which means I don't just have to advocate for them. I made paints that I like to use. So I think that there's something of value, and what I think our current range with speed paints, air, and the new Fanatic acrylics is that it's something that you can start with and find benefit from because they're easy to use, simple coverage, consistency in how the colors behave across the range. But you can also grow with them as you progress and you start following next level painting and you start following Jacket Clubs or Sam Lenz, one of our factory team members, and building on your techniques and your skill levels, your ancient Chinese techniques.
Mhm.
These paints can also help you in that transition. You don't have to go looking for another brand, which was always the case in the past.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Yeah.
a good question. That's a great answer because you're right. We used to have to stock our shelves with different paints from different companies, and we had like little secrets that like we couldn't do
Necrotite
without.
green.
Yeah, bro. I mean,
Harvest
like
Brown.
Harvest Brown Reaper from the Reaper
Yep.
Master Series, bro. Like we couldn't paint without that color.
Yeah.
Like me and Rob for years. Like yeah, it's a completely different game. That's such a great answer. Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome.
Wyatt,
Thank you.
I've got one for Wyatt. Can you break down the essential steps of painting a miniature from priming to finish? The essential steps.
Yeah. So at the barest minimum, you're gonna want to hit that battle ready standard, right? Because like
Mhm.
as a community, like the company community and the company, they decided that to be able to play the game, you need to hit that battle ready standard. So what that entails is priming, which is your starting point. And you can also like kind of make priming the first and the second step because lots of companies, including Army Painter, make primers in various colors, right? So if I'm going to paint
So
Ultramarines,
good.
and I know that the 99% of that model is going to be blue, and I want to hit that battle ready standard as simply and fast as possible, just get blue primer, right?
Yep.
So we could decrease those steps. So that's like step one, right? And then you want to cut in all your details or base color all your details, right? So if you're painting a Space Marine, you've got a bolter, you've got some joints, you've got some ammo packs, you got like the chest eagle, stuff like that. The trim on their shoulder pads is important for your color scheme. So that's like step two, right? Just base coat all that in. Step three is apply some kind of shade, right? Like so washing the model, air quotes, that's like the technique. Some companies call those shades. Some companies call those tones. If it's an army painter, just apply
Called
that.
washes
That's
now.
washes. Yeah. Uh, Applying that is going to shade in or make all of the little details and crevices darker
As
than
we
the paint
say, we
around
make the
it.
dark stuff dark, baby.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then from there, you're battle ready. Like everything on the model is painted.
Yep.
You have a shade on there. Throw some basing down on your base, whatever. That's battle ready. So that's the simplest. But from there, you would want to go back. You'd want to clean up everything from the slop of the washing. You want to do your highlights. Maybe do some extra little tech, like some little shinies on your metallics, like the glowy eye lenses, stuff like that. So really, it's like 3, 4, or 5 steps at minimum.
That's
Yeah, it
very
should be 5 steps. I think it's 5 steps. We talk actually a lot at the company about redeveloping the 5-step army painting process. it's always been prime and base coat, shade, reestablish base coat, chunky highlight, edge highlight, right? Like what is that new that we've been doing that since the 90s? What does the new technique look like? Like where does chipping play a role? Where do filters play a role? Can we speed
I mean,
things up? Can we get
that's a
maximized
really good
effect?
question. So a lot of times with my students, edge highlighting specifically is like a big scary 4-letter word, right?
Yeah.
And so if you have trouble with that, or maybe you personally don't like that style, like that's a style that's very established in the industry, kind of like the air quotes GW style of painting. It's not necessarily realistic. It's not necessarily like a style that one might like. Or if you struggle with the brush control to do cleaned edge highlights, right? I just tell my students like, yo, paint chipping is edge detail.
Mm-hmm.
Paint chipping in and of itself is edge highlighting, right?
Mm-hmm.
It adds detail to the model. It adds to the story that you're trying to tell to a model. So just replace it with that. Like if you want to do weathering, like you can get away with weathering rather than adding more paint to the model to like increase the saturation of your colors or increase the shade or increase the highlight. And there's lots and lots of really cool tech out there that's been around, I mean, probably longer than I've been alive for scale modeling that is packaged and sold by a lot of different companies that make that stuff super easy. I mean, like I was just painting a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
these Imperial Guard tanks today. Like a pencil, weathering pencils is something that is nowhere in the miniature space. Like no miniature company makes weathering pencils, but they are legitimately a cheat code for so many things that we already do on our models and just makes it super easy, right?
Well, I've heard of people using pencil leads as like graphite, the graphite for like metal, where
Yeah.
like worn metal. But doesn't AK have pencils too, weathering
Yeah, I mean, like
pencils?
the ones
Yeah.
I have are AK.
Yeah, they're a
Some other
scale.
Oh, okay.
companies make them.
They're a scale company though, right? That's what you're saying.
Oh, that's yeah. I
AK.
guess
Yeah,
that
and
makes
so
sense.
yeah.
Yeah, they're a scale company. No, that's a really good answer. I was gonna say,
Mm-hmm.
get yourself Army Painter, Viking Blue spray paint, spray that bitch, cut in all those details, get yourself an old school can of strong tone dip.
Oh man,
I don't know,
That's
dude.
where it started,
I
That's a
don't,
baby.
I don't know.
legacy
I don't know
product.
about the
That's where
dip,
it
to
all
be
started.
honest.
That's where it
paint
started, baby. That's
paint a
why
I think
whole.
that's why they did all the R&D. Like Army Painter did the
Yeah.
R&D in the wash game, so that's why like their washes are so top tier. It's like they were trying to figure out ways to make shit to paint shit quick. I mean, we were literally like dipping these things and flinging them, and we even like at one point had like a Ryobi fucking hand drill, and we'd spin them bitches on it, like get all the splatter off. I mean, like we were doing some
I
wild
don't
shit.
didn't Mike have like a wild Space Wolf army that was
Yeah,
all dipped?
Space Wolf Army.
Yeah, they look
Yeah.
great.
Everything he has is Army Painter
Yeah.
Strong Tone dip can. Like all that old school shit
Dude,
he
what
did,
did
dude.
I?
He won
Do you
painting
guys even
awards with
sell
that
those
shit.
still? Is that still a product on your shelves?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's a very small like we
That's
talk
wild.
about reimagining the dipping technique. And I was actually having a conversation with Peachy about it because apparently there's a lot of that going on at the Games Workshop studio when they're doing their army painting and the stuff for the museum and stuff, which is always cool to hear. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but like it's a tried and true technique. You were mentioning techniques that were borrowed from scale. The dipping technique is just borrowed from historical painting, right?
Yeah.
And it was repackaged and refined to sell right off the shelf as opposed to go buying it yourself and trying to figure it
You're
out.
mixing all your floor
Um,
wax and all that bullshit together.
right, right. But it's our industry's come a long way, obviously, and I think we'll probably get to that with some of your questions. I got a sense that we're going to get to that some of your questions
We
later
got
on
some
in the
stuff.
I'm
show.
trying to. I have to like look on my channel. I don't know if you remember this or not, Adam, but I actually did a video with the
You
dip for
with a
bolt
Gundam
action.
miniature. Was it bolt action or Gundam?
It was
Didn't you do a
bolt
Gundam with
action.
it?
So bolt action makes that like weird war sci-fi spin-off game. It was with one
Yeah.
of their robots, but
Okay.
I just can't remember how many years ago that was.
I just wonder if it's going to find a resurgence with Trench Crusade because
Maybe
some of those
it
miniatures
might.
really call for it.
Well, I mean, as you know, all you gotta do to get miniature people to buy shit is just slap miniatures on it, and people
Yeah.
pay out the nose, right? So it's
Yeah.
just be like, hey, this is your dip for trench. Like, you want that trench look? Dip that shit, like, and people will buy it.
This is trench dip, son.
Yo, trench
Trench
dip.
dip.
There you go.
Let's-
You can have that free of charge.
Yeah, dude. Okay, I'm gonna ask Rob. Rob, for beginners, just getting into Warhammer 40k painting, what are the biggest mistakes to avoid?
Good question.
Well, I think the biggest mistake is not actually starting.
Like buying too much stuff
Ooh.
and pretending you're gonna
No,
paint it.
just like I don't want to start because I know, just getting that like paralysis, like where
Decision paralysis.
yeah, decision paralysis. Like
You can
I
always
I
paint
know
over it.
my miniature's gonna suck.
Failure to launch.
Yeah, it's like, dude, everybody's first miniature sucks. Just do it. Like, doesn't matter.
And
Um,
I hear this all the time at events, and people are like, "I'm afraid to ruin the miniature." It's like, no, it's a canvas. It's meant to
It's
be
impossible,
painted.
dude.
You could strip it if you want to. You could paint over. Like I'm painting my first bust, and I have messed up so many times, and all I have to do is paint over it. That's it.
I mean,
Just paint over it.
yeah, I mean, paints are so thin these days too. Um,
Mhm.
that it's very easy to do. The biggest piece of advice I'm just like, well, just don't paint your heroes. Don't paint your leader guys first. Like
Yeah.
save
I like that.
save those
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
to where you're at a comfortable spot at. But I
Re-
feel like
resist the urge to paint Marnius Calgar first. You just got into the
Yeah.
hobby. You just watched Space Marine 2. You played that game and you have Marnius. Resist the urge to paint him first. Paint all your hobos first.
Yep.
Then paint
Yeah.
Marnius. That's a good
Number
one.
the bottom of the bases too. That would
Oh.
I wish I had done that. And then you could go back to the squad and say, okay, that was number 1. That's Steve. And then you got Billy over there, who's number 2, and Billy has the broken arm because you dropped him too many times. Like, yeah, hold on to that stuff. That's a really good tip, Rob.
I like that.
Hold
Rob.
on
Yeah.
to Marnius.
I still have some very old models in my case to remind me, keep me humble.
I've got
Models
some-
of shame.
Well, that's gonna come up in our Q&A. So you guys ready? I'm gonna bang through
Yeah.
this Q&A. Okay, so and I'll let you guys. This isn't to anyone in particular. Right out the gate, Nurgle Matthew, obligatory. Y'all play 40k around here?
No, never. Yeah,
Not
of
as much as I
course.
used to.
That's
Yeah, 2 tournaments this month, dude.
that's his normal. Like he always asks that question, but like, yeah, all 4 of us play Warhammer 40k, and that's what got us into this hobby. That's real. Like,
Yep.
Games Workshop
It's how I met all 3 of you.
put out a sick game, and we all fucking play it, and it motivates us to paint minis. And that's why we're all doing this. So even though it's kind of a funny joke question, Nurgle Matthew, I appreciate you answering that. Mitch D, he asks, do aircraft and fortifications deserve to survive as rules and units in the current edition of Warhammer 40k? What do you guys think?
I saw this question. I have a
Why not?
might be a spacey answer, but if we're speaking about competitive tournament book 40k, whatever match play, whatever you want to call that, right? The GT book, right? If we're talking about that style of 40k, I think aircraft, anything that's Titanic, indirect fire, and anything that does not require line of sight in order to interact between units needs to go away.
Stop trying to force the rules.
Yeah, like if you talk to 10 different top 1,000 global players, you will probably hear very similar sentiments. And I say that owning Titans. I say that owning my most prized possessions, which is my pair of Lord of Skulls. Right? I say that like Titanic needs to leave competitive 40k, right? I have a Manticore to Basilisk right at hand, right here that I'm painting right now. Indirect fire needs to go away. Aircraft having just one best painted at Dice Hammer GT with a Storm Raven needs to go away. Now, if we're talking just 40k in general, like kind of playing with the homies, open play, bring whatever you want, right? Like keep that stuff in the game, but for competitive, get that shit out of here.
Here's one.
I'll be honest with you. I only wanted GT because I brought 6 flyers and 3 land speeders. Like that's legitimate truth, right? I love playing flyers, but they are either overpowered in any given edition or completely useless in any given edition.
Because
I
Games
think if they found
Workshops,
a
they're
middle
always
ground.
they're always trying to make this like subset of rules work since they were introduced. This
Yeah.
like weird thematic set of rules. Like remember when we first got a Storm Raven, you remember this? There was no such thing as a flyer. It was just a fucking skimmer. It was just a vehicle that had the skimmer key that had skimmer rules, and that's it. The next edition it ticked over, then flyers were invented. And it's ever since then, it's been them trying to make this subcategory of units work, and it's been like as you said, either too oppressive or completely useless. Let's move
They
on.
should be. I feel like they should be lower point cost and less output.
Or
But that's
just
me.
use the rules that already exist. Like they fucking have the flag keyword,
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the problem becomes like, so a good example that I brought up the Storm Raven for, it's like you put it in hover mode. It's one of the few aircraft that goes in hover mode, and it loses the aircraft keyword, right? And that's like a boon and a debuff at the same time. The issue with the Storm Raven, however, is that it functions rules wise as like any other tank in the game, where you measure to the hull, all that stuff, right? But it moves 20 inches. So it's this massive gun platform that can move 20 inches and then drop stuff out of it. And it's like, if you were say like all aircraft now are hover mode, right? With all the rules that go along with that. They're OC0, but they're in hover mode. The problem is still they move so incredibly far that it still kind of breaks the rules of general 40k. Where like
Make
the
flyers have
fastest
hull points again.
yeah, like the fastest someone can move is like 12, 14 without an advance roll. But it's like when you get into that, I just move flat 20 inches and then I can
Mhm.
advance like to get line of sight on stuff. Like it just kind of throws the whole game out of whack.
They operate at a different scale.
Mhm.
Okay, complicated gaming. This is the one that you guys are referencing. Do you guys still have your very first mini that you painted, or any photos of them? And would you be willing to share them on the stream? So first off, did any of you guys have your very first minis you painted? No, I mean,
I have
Funny
older
story,
ones.
No.
My dad was on a pyro kick and he burnt it when I was in college.
classic dad move.
I have
Jeez.
some that are I have some that are over 10 years old, but I don't have the very first ones that I
No,
painted.
I definitely did not save my very first minis, nor do I care. Like they're not tight. I don't need them. I don't need them here to remind. Like I don't need those exact models to remind myself how far I've come. They're bad. When I first started, I did like model airplanes and shit with my dad as a kid. So when I got my first box set, it was that third edition Dark Eldar Space Marine one, Rob. And I didn't know it. I just assumed it was just like that. And I just had like my testers enamels out with a little plastic paintbrush, painting these bitches up using mineral spears and shit. Dude, they were so bad. It was like, I was like, well, how are they painting this like on the box? This doesn't make sense. It's impossible. You can't paint with this paint. This paint's nonsense. Then finally, I went to a hobby store and someone showed me what I was doing wrong.
Man, yeah, that was the thing. You had to get the tech. I do have
You
some
don't have your Iron
pictures.
Warriors anymore?
No, I do not. But I do have pictures of some stuff I painted in the 80s.
Holy shit.
I wasn't even alive in the 80s. Remember, I'm 23.
You got some
Same.
shit? You got some shit from the 80s, dog?
Yeah, I got some pictures. I mean, I have them in the back, but I'd have to go dig them out. Oh, I was trying to find them.
Yeah, give me one of those.
Yeah, give me a sec. I'll dig it out.
While you're doing that, Kara Quinn asked, this is a really big question that I think Adam, another one of these like kind of trick questions. He says, what's the number one reason I should use Army Painter paints instead of Pro Krill? What do you offer that they don't?
Why so? So I'll ask you one question. Why Pro Krill specifically?
Because I think
Why
he knows
not
that
Vallejo?
I believe, because the lore is that
Okay.
Kara Quinn knows we rep Jason and Pro Krill and speak so highly of his brand so often that you as a representative of Army Painter on here is in opposition to that statement. So he's created a little bit of fun controversy is all.
So actually, so I can give you two answers, right? And I'll give you the technical answer, right? And I will give you the political answer. Okay. The political answer, and this is honestly the truthful answer, is that paints are a tool. You find what works for you and you use it, right? There's a lot of different paint companies out there that exist today because the industry and the community demands it, right? They couldn't all be here if we all didn't want to buy the paint and try new paint. So there's that. Now, knowing what I know about Pro Acryl and my experience using their paints and testing their paints, and knowing Jason, and I don't know him personally, but I have heard this about him, is that he doesn't like to use a wet palette. He lives in a dry environment.
Mhm.
his paints are thinner on purpose,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so if that's the way that you paint and you use a hard palette, you don't like to use a wet palette, then those might be better for you. Now, if you like to control the thickness of your paint, you like to thin it a little bit more, you like something that could stretch, you like to dry brush, then you could look at Fanatic. We also have a speed paint range, which is insanely versatile and can be used as a one coat system or an ink. Or, I mean, the way that I use speed paints is probably not the way that they were specifically intended, but the new formulation, I use them for that, for a lot of glazing. And then the airbrush range, as I found, is very similar in consistency to Monument Pro Acryl. Maybe a little bit thinner because it is
Yeah,
specifically
yours
designed
is a little
for
thinner.
air. Yeah, but
Mhm.
you know, other than that, like I would never say buy one or the other until you make up your mind for yourself. I mean, I think we're a cool company. We try and do things for the right reason, and I'm sure Jason feels the same way.
I
I'm
think you
happy
did
that he's here.
I think you did a really good job answering that
Yeah,
question. And like I said,
right.
Karen Quinn, he's not trying to insult anyone.
Yeah,
He's just creating a
yeah.
dialogue. Probably a lot of people driving to work today would have like wanted that same thing. I think you answered it perfectly. You referenced the wet and dry and hard palette tech. You talked
Yep.
about if maybe if you like do a little bit more dry brushing and this and that, you're gonna have more success with this line. It still is a tool though, so it's what works with you. And as a incentive, we do have the air paints and the speed paints, so we do offer some versatility in our line. That's a very good answer. And it's not even like a political answer. That's just straight up dropping facts, bro. Good job, man. I
No, a
love that
political
answer.
answer was try what you like and use it.
Yeah.
That's all that matters,
hmm
right? I don't care if you like somebody's
But you
yellow
work at
more than
Army Painter,
ours,
you
or
believe in the product, and you
yeah,
told us why
of course, yeah.
without shitting on someone else's product.
Why would
So
I do that?
that yeah,
I'm happy with it.
I love that. So I just posted up on the screen, guys,
I saw that.
to answer question from Complicated Gamer. Do you still have your This is from the 80s.
Wow.
This is a Rob Baer special.
What?
I put up your picture on the screen.
What picture? I didn't send you anything.
In Facebook.
That might be mine.
Was that
I
yours?
just sent a picture.
Oh, is that Wyatt?
The silver guy.
This is from Wyatt. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
sorry. This
that's
is a
the
Wyatt.
oldest picture I could find.
This
Oh,
is
there you go.
This is a Wyatt special. Here we
I'm
go.
not ashamed.
So
I used to be really bad at this.
no. Can I just say, for Wyatt's first model,
Oh, it's not even my
Did-
first one. That's just
no.
because I was
This is probably
Yeah,
like tons of work to get here. I relate to
no.
this.
So this was from 2012. So my first models I painted back in 2002 as a kid. And I painted scale models with my dad growing up, but I don't have any photos of those on hand. Um, that model is after leaving the hobby. So like I got out for most of the time I was in college and most of the time I was in the army, and then I got back into it when I was getting out of the army. So that was like not having painted anything in over a decade, or not over a decade, but like uh a good 5 years. I hadn't like touched anything. I hadn't like practiced, hadn't painted a single thing. And I was just like getting back into it.
Thank you for sharing. Let's keep it
I love
going.
it.
Let's keep momentum. Dark Horse, he asks, what are the pros and cons between priming white and priming black?
Mm,
That's a bit.
It
Prime
is
gray.
tough.
I mean,
Prime gray.
I'd say so pros and cons, right? A pro of priming white is that lighter shades will cover easier. The paint will have to work a lot less hard to cover over that surface and be opaque, which is generally what you want.
Maximum
for base coat.
saturation will be achieved over white.
Right. A con of painting white is that you have no value. You have no dark middle highlight.
Mhm.
It's all highlight. It's all white. The absence of
Yep.
color.
There
right?
is nothing helping you with any coverage whatsoever.
So pro of painting black is that you have all of that, right? Like you have a dark base, like this is my shadow. Now I can start dark, work up
Mhm.
to a highlight, which is generally what we want
Most
to do
of the time,
with our
that's what we do.
miniatures.
Yeah.
Con is that colors that are lighter shades, white, yellow, orange, bright gray, stuff like that, is going to have to work a lot harder, right? Which is typically why there is the myth within the community that white is really hard to paint and yellow is really hard to paint. It's because so many people buy into this idea of like you buy Chaos Black primer, you spray your miniature black, and then you start painting up with a brush, right? But there's cheat codes, right? Those exist, right? You can buy yellow primer.
There's also this
Prime it
thing called
yellow.
an airbrush.
Yep, there's
There
I was
it
gonna get
is.
to that. There's the airbrush. Or if like kind of like what Adam said, you can prime gray. It's the nice neutral
Great.
middle
Yeah.
ground.
Splits the
Right.
difference.
Or again, with colored primers, if you're gonna paint something yellow, you can buy a dark orange rust as your primer color and then work off of that. So then you have value shading, or a brown, or a pink, or whatever type of yellow that you want to do.
Yep. Pros. Yeah, I typically on my show tell people primary white's a mistake for 32 millimeter miniature wargaming
It's
because
not good.
the advantages of what white does in the CMYK color spectrum are mostly invalidated by the convenience that is priming darker. As Wyatt mentioned, how you could work up from the dark. But that doesn't mean that white's not important. And sometimes you're going to do this other thing called pre-highlighting or pre-shading. So where you might do, and that's where you hear like this concept of zenithal priming, as people like to call it, where you're taking the gray primer as Adam uses, the black and the white as Wyatt mentioned, and you put them all together, right? And you have like a pre-shade, pre-highlight system, and you can kind of get the and I call that better priming practices. So they all have a reason to exist, and there's no reason not to use them all.
I'll just throw something out here. You know, I work for a paint company. I painted a lot of armies. You know, I very rarely, unless it's a display model that I'm painting for a
And
specific
kind of big,
purpose.
right?
Yeah, I'm 6'5" according to the Glacial Geek.
6'8".
But I rarely ever prime the model the same every time. Right? There's a theme that I'm going for. There's something, you know, that I'm trying to accomplish. A lot of this I learned from Kenny, and a lot of this I learned from Roman Lapat. Like, it's about atmosphere. It's about what you're trying to make the end product look like. So, you know, Kenny does weird shit, and one of my favorite things of all time were those Imperial Guard tanks that you did a long, long time ago. I mean, we're talking 10, 12 years ago. I think you did like purple cut-ins over top of green. And it just like there's a lot of things that you can do, and the priming step, if you spend some time thinking about it, can save you so much time and also generate max effect. One of the things that I'm working on.
There's a strategy to priming, and the reason I mostly use something dark, if not black, dark neutral gray, is because it mostly accounts for any future decision I'm going to make, even if I don't know those decisions yet. And so it lets me make weird decisions later. And in worst case scenario, you can kind of reprime a spot by hand, right? Reset the territory. I see Wyatt do that shit all the time. I see like, you know, like you reset the spot. So like, you know, and at that point, it's not even really like priming is the practice of taking a hydrophobic like plastic model
Surface.
and making paint stick to it, right? That's what priming is. So the color you choose is just a bonus incentive. You can literally just take a plastic model and varnish it with just acrylic medium. It's clear, but it is now has enough matte texture that you can paint. So like the very fact that you're even choosing a tone, a value or anything means you're already thinking of the next step. Because you don't actually
That's exactly it. That's exactly it, Ken. When I did you go see my World Eaters, we just posted our Arena of Escalation on the Army Painter blog. Go check it out. Now, if you look at it, it's red and white and blue. And sure, I primed everything black actually gray at first. But do you know what my next step was? My base color for the entire army was a half mix of alien purple and uniform gray. Why did I do that? Because I knew I was painting white armor, and I knew I was painting red skin.
I love that.
I wanted to give it a consistent, and then when I came back...
So you only had to battle it in one way.
I only had to battle it one way, and then when I came back to reinforce it, Kenny, with some glazes through the airbrush, some shadow glazes, I knew it was going to be a purple tone. It was all going to sync, right? So, like, you got to think ahead. Army painting is all about thinking ahead.
And there's never been more resources.
Assemblies.
Never been more resources to learn.
Oh, we're spoiled.
We're so spoiled these days.
Spoiled.
Bro, it's out of control. Here we go. Nergal Matthew. He's back with a real question. You guys ready?
Nice.
Can y'all get an army painter booth right next to the Long War doubles at Adepticon event.
Well, so that would be rad. We could probably, if Kenny and Rob would let us set something up, we could put a sub booth there. But we're gonna have a booth right next to Creature Caster because we are the major sponsor of Resin Beast alongside Creature Caster this year. So, yeah.
So the short
Heck
answer
yeah.
is maybe.
Can we run?
Pop-up
Can we
booth.
run the Army Painter Challenge at the Long War doubles for the Long War doubles?
That's entirely possible. So maybe Nurgle
see
Matthew,
what
and I've got Nurgle Matthew in negotiations with me on some secret tech for Long War doubles as well. So
Uh-oh.
maybe we get Army Painter and then to sponsor some type of painting award.
Hell yeah.
That'd be cool.
That's, I mean, that's what the Army Painter Challenge is. Let's do it.
So like that, let's go. Let's move it on to Idiot at Rampage.
Consider it done.
Let it be said, let it be done. Idiot at Rampage says, when deciding on how to paint a new army, God, Wyatt, you painted like 10 new armies this year. Do you go from the easiest, fastest to paint, or to the hardest, or get the hardest stuff done first so that's out of the way and the rest is a breeze?
Ooh.
Mm.
So I always love this question because it lets me say something preposterous. So the best way to plan out painting your army
It's your spreadsheet.
Spreadsheets.
It's your
I have a video on this.
It's your
I was
best
gonna
video on
say,
YouTube.
I'm
yeah.
just like, please watch this video because it's actually really cool.
Yeah.
So the thing is, there is like the best way to plan your army is a step-by-step process with the end goal being completing the models as efficiently as possible using your time, right? So your two goals are, I want my stuff to look cool, and I don't want to spend a billion years doing it because I want to play the game that I'm painting these for. So
Get more
there
time
is
for
no like harder or easier doesn't factor into it. There's the steps in which you have
It's
to do
only the
things.
math, dog.
Yeah, for all this to work, right? So it's like, sure, power weapons are like air quotes like harder, but you wouldn't do that before like priming the model blue and painting your blue
Right.
armor, right? So it's like you just have to do the things in order. And what you do using the spreadsheets is allocate the amount of time required to accomplish each step. And because like painting a whole army is a big deal, right? Like
It's an elite task.
I'm painting Imperial Guard
It
right
is.
now, and it's literally like 9 tanks and 15 dudes. That's the whole army.
To do what
But I
Wyatt's
still
doing,
only
where it's
work
like
on it like 2 hours a day.
it's like 2K, right? Doing what Wyatt's doing on his stream right now, like 2,000 points of a well-painted army. We're not talking battle ready, right? Because I firmly believe in my heart of hearts, any hobo off the street can achieve battle ready through just the stuff Adam talked about 5 minutes ago. You know what I mean? Like anybody can do it. But so the next tier above that, where it's like, yeah, this shit's tight. What's up? That is an elite, a very elite task that when you consider how many people on planet Earth exist and how many people play war games, how many people play Warhammer 40k, how many people actually have a dopely painted 2,000 point army? It's not that many. So achieving that result, right, takes a little tech. Like how do you because what happens 99% of the time is you bail on it because it starts to become an arduous fucking slog. And then you just quit and then it's been 6 months and you haven't even looked at that shit because it makes you sick to look at, you know? So Wyatt's tech, he's got a whole video on it. It's a great fucking video. Go check that shit out.
Yeah.
So neither.
It is. And to be honest, you would think that I would have all the time in the world to paint armies, right? Because I work for the army painter, but today I don't, right? So I have to squeeze in as much time as I have to. And I watched Wyatt's video. I now use spreadsheets to start allocating my time. And when I know, the girls are going to have dance, I'm going to have an hour and 15 minutes. I know I can accomplish this. And then my ADHD brain, I get to decide what I'm going to spend that time on because I know it's going to take this amount of time to do that. Right? It's resource allocation.
Yep.
I think splitting it up and knowing, because I do that too. Well, I don't do the spreadsheet because I have spreadsheets in my head at this point.
That's fair.
But I'm basically making a spreadsheet.
All right, Rayman.
Yeah.
Bro, he has one of those. What's that tool called that you have in your drawer still? The engineering tool, that like physical.
A micrometer?
Yeah, it's a micrometer just in his drawer just randomly.
I
do. I also have Maptism, but that's a whole nother thing.
He does.
The micrometer is what we use to measure the length, the length when you go from 6 foot to 8 foot from the floor. I think that's what they call that.
Rob uses it to measure literally everything, though.
I do. I was like, how big is this? Anyways, because I'll do Like I'll lay down, I'll go primer something. And primering is this whole nother thing. I like to do it right. It's like three steps, and you have to let it dry a little bit in between, and then oh, okay, let me fire up the airbrush. Let me throw down some like a zenithal or something on, and I know, hey, that's going to take me. If I can do 10 models, that's going to take me 30 minutes, right? So like I can take a break from publishing, I can do that, and I can come back. So like breaking up the steps within one project is also very valuable because, or just, let me hit it with a matte coat, let it dry overnight, before I go to sleep. Don't forget, don't forget.
I like that. The Glacier Geek, he asks, if you could have the hair of any Games Workshop model, who would you
Ah.
choose?
Alariel.
Hmm.
Beautiful.
I think I gotta go
Confident.
with Ragnar Blackbane.
That's a good one.
Good
Damn,
call.
that's good.
Or
That's a good one.
Sanguinius.
Huron Blackheart.
He's
Here on
bald.
Blackheart,
It's like burned off.
Right.
I'm
No,
painting.
Hence the joke.
I like Ragnar too. That's a good answer.
Ragnar's good.
Ragnar is a good one.
Rob, what did you say?
Sanguinius.
God, he's got beautiful hair.
Does
Fabio
get
hair,
beautiful
dude.
hair. I could rock some Sanguinius hair. Like Brad Pitt and Troy.
From I was gonna say Brad Pitt from Interview with the Vampire.
Oh yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
works.
That's
Yeah.
Sanguinius in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just a smidge on the pale side.
Yeah.
But aren't we all?
Today, yeah, I'm looking rather pale.
All right,
They get
It's
them
the light.
filters.
Yeah, I don't do this full time.
let's hit up Benjamin. He says, "What army would you like to paint with your own scheme? What would the color palette look like, guys?"
Today,
Today.
I mean, which one?
Okay,
I've got a lot.
okay.
I'm an army painter. I always have concepts in my head.
I'm gonna phrase it a different way then. You're gonna paint a new army starting tomorrow.
Okay.
Right.
Need to get it done in how much time?
No. Fuck that. Like, just like, what's your hype ass color scheme? Like, that's what he's kind of asking. Is like, what are you doing? What's your color palette? Like, what's your go to color palette for like some new?
Yeah, Kenny definitely has some colors.
I actually want to try something different, and this kind of goes back to a couple different segments at the beginning of the show. I've got, believe it or not, Darren Latham sent me some of the Terminators a long time ago. Great guy, Darren is, and I need an excuse to paint them. I have 12,000 points of my custom chapter. I want to do something different, and I want to do something fast. And I want to reimagine the 5-step process that we were talking about. So I'm going to take them all. I want to prime them in like a rusty orange color, right? So like start with a leather brown, maybe do an orange airbrush, and then I want to hit it directionally with grays and or olive greens, one or the other, right? Leave some of that orange brown in the recess, height contrast, neutral color on the outside. I want to take some chipping, working on some new chipping products right now at the moment, right? Chip it and then lay down a filter of a diluted speed paint over top, and then just do the rest of the army and call it a day. Like that is what I would really like to do right now, and see how awesome I can make 1,000, 2,000 points of Marines look in a weekend. And I think I can do it in a weekend.
I love that tech. All right, this will be the last question of the night. It's a Kara Quinn special. He says, this is a trick question, but relevant. Adam's favorite restaurant uptown in New Orleans. Not a trick question, but I'm judging you.
Wow.
Okay, so I have to say that my favorite is the Chloe, because my brother-in-law is the executive chef and the food is excellent. But I have never been to a restaurant with my brother-in-law Ben and saw him excited about the food until last week. On Tuesday, we went to a restaurant called Mamu, French restaurant. I mean, a little pricey, but not pretentious. Rustic on the inside, super casual. I mean, the food wasn't crazy. It wasn't 3 Michelin star, blow your mind but it was blow your mind because it was executed absolutely perfectly. So Mamu, I would highly recommend. And if you're going to go to Mamu, you have to go Chloe on St. Charles Avenue.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for that answer. Caraquita, hopefully that satisfies you. Now, as far as the winner of this Q&A challenge goes, I have it all in our spreadsheet. We'll review it and announce the winners next week. And
There we go.
we'll dispatch the product courtesy of Army Painter and Adam's generosity. So let's close this one out. Wyatt, you want to take us out of here?
Rob?
So that's it for this one, y'all. Thanks for watching. For exclusive content, early access videos, and more, make sure to head on over to thelongwar.net and become a veteran of the Long War today.